Yesterday, Tom Izzo was questioned by ESPN reporter Tisha Thompson over sexual assault allegations at Michigan State. Last week, ESPN reported former Spartan basketball player Travis Walton was accused of multiple assaults against women, but no charges were filed. Let's take a listen to Izzo yesterday.
In 2010, Travis Walton was charged with assault and battery for punching a female student in the face. There were witnesses. She was injured. Why was he allowed to continue with the coaching staff and be with the team while charges were pending?
Well, as I said before, we'll cooperate with any investigation and always have. We've done it before and we'll do it moving forward. And that's about all I'm going to say on it, that we did cooperate with everything.
We want to give you every opportunity to answer questions. There's a lot of questions. A big one is, why did Travis leave the program in 2010?
I don't know what you mean. He graduated.
He was with your staff throughout 2010. An allegation came forward later that year that from a woman and her family to the athletic department that he and two of your players raped her. He then left the program later that year in 2010. Why?
To be honest with you, I don't remember why he left. I know he went to Europe to play, and as you know, I'll still say I'll cooperate with any investigation that's made. I did it then, I did it before, and I'm not going to answer any questions that aren't pertaining to either basketball or things that I am not going to talk about right now.
Let me ask you this question then. Looking back at the way sexual assault allegations have been handled by your basketball program, do you have any regrets?
I've cooperated with every investigation, every one, and I will continue to cooperate with every investigation, every one.
We're joined once again by Rob Parker. Rob, you covered Tom Izzo and the Michigan State program for a long time. What's your reaction?
One of the, toughest things I've ever seen, Tom Izzo squirming, being asked good, direct questions by the ESPN reporter who did an excellent job of journalism.
Good job.
Absolutely. And the one thing that was always talked about with Tom Izzo was always, people felt pride in that community that he coached the right way, he did the right thing, that he didn't run a dirty program. It was always, that was Tom Izzo's shining light. And he was able to get to all these Final Fours, and he won a championship back in 2000. But it was about how he ran his program. He was not like the other coaches, and he was never going to was going to go that route, and was always going to be on the straight and narrow. I don't see that Tom Izzo anymore. And I think, Skip, here's the part that bothers me. Tom Izzo owes it to that community, to those fans, to his players, to those survivors of these incidents, an explanation. And he can't run from this, Shannon. You are going to have to answer the questions, because we live in a different world. These things are not looked at the same way, where you can just be like, well, I don't remember. That's not good enough. And the Travis Walton stuff is as bad as anything that you could have out there. That there's not one incident, there's two incidents. Right. And you have no idea, he was on your staff, you have no idea why he left or what went down. It's a dark day at Michigan State. And for Tom Izzo, this guy's already in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. His legacy is on the line. And I think Tom Izzo has not, look at how Tom Izzo looks on that video. Is that the Tom Izzo you remember from a month ago? No. He looks worn, battered. He understands he is in hot water. And I've never seen Tom Izzo in this light.
It's going to be very difficult for Tom Izzo and Mark D'Antonio to withstand this.
Yep, I agree.
The president has resigned. The AD has resigned. It's going to be virtually impossible. And the Magic released Adrian Payne. Travis, the young man that they were talking to, Walton, he's on suspension on leave in the G League until they get this thing sorted out. Skip, the reporter asked him, she said, Tom, do you have any regrets? And he says, well, I've cooperated. See, if he says he has regret, that means he's done something wrong that he wants to apologize for. He can't admit that, because if he admits that, he's admitting he knew and he did nothing. He can't go there, Skip. And that's why he says, he also said, I've cooperated. Didn't ask you if you cooperated. This is a very tough spot to be in, because we do things in this situation, this Me Too movement now, Joy, and everybody knows this, is different, Skip. And what we see going on now is that it's not good enough for the coaches to say, I've cooperated. You know everything about you. That's the one thing about college coaches. That's why they love coaching college as opposed to the pros. Because you get to control these players 24/7. You know everything that they do. And so for him to say, well, I don't know why he left, or I don't know this and that, he's being disingenuous. And this is why he and Mark D'Antonio will not be able to withstand this, Skip. I don't see how they do it. And with the situation, and you're looking at it, and this doesn't make it right, but let me tell you what the university is probably thinking. Basketball at all universities, basketball and football, those are your money makers. They basically support everything else. So even though they had this gymnastics Dr. Nasser on staff, and they heard all these allegations, well, if you do something with him, and you got 16 allegations against football players, and you got these allegations against basketball players, they just like, we just gonna let him ride because we don't want to upset the apple cart over here. That's ridiculous. I'm gonna tell you who else is not gonna be able to survive this. NCAA President Mark Emmert.
They say
it's reported that he had direct first-hand knowledge of what was going on, and now he don't know anything. But he know what amateurism is. He know the difference between an amateur and a pro, but he don't know nothing about this here. A lot of heads are going to roll in this situation. NASA was the tip of the iceberg, but they finna go down, and they finna go down, 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 and they're going to go real deep, Skip. And this thing, the Michigan State, is going to be Penn State, but it might even be bigger, if you can believe that, because this engulfs two programs. Penn State was just about the football program. It didn't touch the basketball program. Now you got football and basketball and two well-known names. This is not going to end well for Michigan State. I'm sorry.
It already hasn't ended well. And just for the record, Mark D'Antonio's football programs, the allegations against the proven incidents within run much deeper than the basketball allegations and incident run. But that doesn't absolve Tom Izzo of any blame. And I'm with you, Rob. Tom Izzo is beloved by the national and the local
media.
And yet, to your point, Tom Izzo to me was so thoroughly unconvincing answering those questions that surely he had thought about, and yet it just seemed like he was caught completely off guard and was just teetering on his feet the whole time.
Yes.
And it did not speak well of his future at this institution. So, bigger picture. Oh, and by the way, just a quick point. He's been to 7 Final Fours, Tom Izzo, and they did win 1, and the most outstanding player was Mateen Cleaves.
2000, right.
2000, and he now has sexual assault charges that are going to go to county court. So he's got one hanging over his head also, and he was the most outstanding player. So we've seen, bigger picture, a seismic shift in this country, starting with the Me Too movement, but it's now come down to these football and basketball cultures that have operated, starting with Baylor University, that Baptist bastion on the Brazos River down in Waco, Texas. Was that not a scandal? Was that not the tip of this whole iceberg here? It started there.
Well, they tried to clean it up, Skip, because remember the basketball player that got killed by a teammate. So they tried to clean it up, and then...
Scandalous. So we go back to your days, my earlier days, covering college sports, you playing college sports. And once upon a time, it was business as usual when winning was everything in college sports, winning at all costs. Remember, they used to recruit the prettiest co-eds to help recruit the recruits when they came on their recruiting trips to campus, right?
Show them around.
Yeah, so you almost encourage this culture where a big man on campus can do whatever he wants with whatever women are on campus.
Yes.
Almost like your personal harem will be right here on campus, right? And that has run completely amok, starting with Baylor and even at my school, Vanderbilt University. What happened when winning at all costs took over and James Franklin was the head football coach at my school? A rape scandal happened right in between 2 9-4 seasons by James Franklin at Vanderbilt, the doormat of the SEC. The second of those 9-4, I'm sorry, the first of the 9-4, he won 5 SEC games, which is just impossible.
Yeah.
And they won 2 bowl games to cap off those years. And right in the middle of it,
That.
rape scandal. Okay, so here we go again, winning at all costs. It's like football factory, sort of basketball factory, right? NFL pipeline, NBA pipeline. And what happens? Run amok, no control. Isn't that how we're supposed to do it? Isn't that what the fans want, right?
Yeah. Did it not learn anything? It just happened not even a year ago. Louisville. Rick Pitino, the president, the AD, the head coach. Rick Pitino, I don't know anything. I don't know nothing about a brothel. Well, he probably didn't because he was too worried about being in the restaurant where he wasn't supposed to. What he had on the table wasn't what he ordered from the menu. That's why he didn't know what was going on. But he did know. Because I guarantee you, you go ask Nick Saban which of his players is going to class. Ask Nick Saban what his players are getting in their class. He knows. But now all of a sudden, don't nobody know nothing. I don't know why he left. I don't know what happened. Oh, I'll cooperate.
And I think in Izzo's case, what's so damning is this whole notion. We know how he's held in esteem in that community, right?
Yes.
But the idea or notion that a woman could have been raped and Tom Izzo turned the other way, that is very difficult to swallow. And for people who have always had respect and admiration for him, to find out that this is how he operated, it's a stunning blow to your belief in people and just this notion that there are good guys and there are people who are doing the right thing. To think that Tom Izzo is one of these guys who did not do the right thing.
We just saw Bob Stoops, Skip. Because here's the thing. What we're starting to see, Skip, this is what they'll do as long as they don't think anybody will find out. But because remember Bob Stoops, when the Joe Mixon thing became public, the first thing he said, we should have released him. That's not what you said. You saw the video. You and the president was one of the 2 people that saw the video before it ever got released to the public. And you thought the punishment was him being away, staying in good graces, don't get in any more trouble. That's good enough. But the moment the public found out that you saw this tape, now we should have released him because that's not how we want to do business here at Oklahoma. And so what we're starting to see is that Tom Izzo, Mark D'Antonio, had it not been able to be found out, they would have been perfectly comfortable.
What we're seeing is all these coaches are finally getting slapped in the face with, this is no longer acceptable.
No.
Well, you don't run successful programs by being wild and free, so nobody believes that he had no knowledge of anything that was going on. The constant, widespread nature of all of this is never surprising to me, and I think that's a big part of the Me Too movement. But that press conference to me seemed as if he was coached that he should say one thing, but he wanted to protect himself, so he was kind of speaking out of both sides of his mouth. Great job out of the journalist, but it's going to be very difficult to come back from that. Rob, thanks for joining us. We'll preview the Super Bowl with Jim Mora next.